The first rays of the morning sun stretched across the green hills of Kijani village. Birds sang from the mango trees, and the fresh smell of wet soil filled the air after the night's gentle rain. Life in Kijani was simple. The villagers depended on farming, raising livestock, and selling vegetables at the local market. Although no one was rich, the people lived peacefully, helping one another whenever they could. Among them lived a young couple named Daniel and Grace. They had been married for 3 years. Their home was a small mud house with a grass-thatched roof. When it rained, water dripped through the roof into old buckets placed around the room. Their furniture consisted of a small wooden table, 2 stools, a worn-out bed, and a charcoal stove in the corner. Daniel was known as one of the most honest and hardworking men in the village. Every day before sunrise, he would wake up, kneel beside the bed, and pray quietly. "Lord," he whispered every morning, "thank you for another day. Bless the work of my hands and help me provide for my family." After prayer, he would pick up his hoe and walk to the fields while Grace remained asleep. Daniel never complained. Even when the harvest was poor. Even when the rains failed. Even when there was barely enough food for dinner. He always believed tomorrow would be better. Grace, however, had stopped believing. She was tired of poverty. She was tired of wearing the same dresses. She was tired of cooking over charcoal. She was tired of fetching water from the river. Most of all, she was tired of waiting. One evening, Daniel returned home carrying a small sack of maize flour and a few vegetables. "I sold some tomatoes today," he said with a smile. "It's not much, but we have enough for supper." Grace looked at the small bag with disappointment. "Again?" she asked bitterly. Daniel paused. "What do you mean?" "Every day it's the same story, Daniel. Maize flour, vegetables, hard work, no money." Daniel sighed. "I'm trying my best." "Your best isn't enough," Grace shouted. "When are we going to stop living like this? Since when are we supposed to suffer every single day?" Daniel lowered his eyes. "I know life is difficult, Grace. But one day things will change." Grace laughed sarcastically. "You've been saying that for years." Without another word, she walked inside the house. Daniel remained outside, staring at the sunset. Deep inside, his heart was breaking. Weeks passed. Grace became more distant. She no longer smiled. She no longer waited for Daniel to return from the farm. Sometimes she ignored him completely during meals. The villagers began noticing the tension between them. One afternoon, Grace sat outside the house scrolling through Facebook on her old smartphone. The phone had a cracked screen, but it still connected to the internet whenever she bought a little mobile data. As she absent-mindedly scrolled through glamorous photos of people living in the city, a notification appeared. "Kevin Brooks has sent you a friend request." She hesitated for a moment. His profile picture caught her attention immediately. He was standing beside a sleek black SUV, dressed in an expensive suit, wearing sunglasses, with skyscrapers rising behind him. Out of curiosity, Grace accepted the request. Only a few minutes later, a message arrived. "Kevin, hello, beautiful." Grace smiled without realizing it. She replied, "Grace, hello." That simple greeting became the beginning of something that would change her life forever. Over the next few days, Kevin messaged her constantly. Every morning. "Good morning, beautiful." Every afternoon. "Have you eaten?" Every night. Sweet dreams. No one had ever spoken to Grace that way before. Kevin told her he owned several businesses in the city. He shared photos of luxury apartments, expensive restaurants, beaches, shopping malls, and fancy cars. Whether every story he told was true or not, Grace believed every word. One evening, Kevin asked, "So, where do you live?" Grace sent him a picture of her small village house. There was a long silence. Finally, Kevin replied, "You are far too beautiful to be living there." Grace stared at the message. He continued, "A queen like you deserves a better life." Those words echoed in her mind long after she put her phone away. No one had ever called her beautiful so often. No one had ever made her feel so important. Meanwhile, Daniel continued working harder than ever. He noticed Grace smiling at her phone late into the night, but he trusted his wife completely. He never imagined another man had already captured her attention. Months passed. Kevin and Grace spoke every single day. Their conversations became longer and more personal. Grace began telling Kevin about her unhappy marriage. "I feel trapped," she admitted one night. Kevin replied almost instantly, "You deserve someone who will spoil you. You deserve happiness. You deserve a better life." Slowly, Grace stopped seeing Daniel's kindness. I've spoken to someone, he wrote. I can get you a job here. Grace's heart skipped a beat. A real job? Yes, Kevin replied. Good salary. A fresh start. You just have to come to the city. Grace couldn't believe it. For the first time in years, she felt hope. Days later, another message appeared. I've sent you bus fare. Her phone beeped with a money transfer notification. She stared at the amount in disbelief. It was enough to travel to the city comfortably. That night, she hardly slept. She imagined herself wearing elegant clothes, working in a modern office, living in a beautiful apartment, leaving behind the dusty village forever. By morning, she had made her decision. Quietly, she packed her clothes into a small suitcase. Daniel noticed immediately. Grace, where are you going? Without meeting his eyes, she answered. My aunt called me. She's not feeling well. I need to stay with her in town for a few days. Daniel looked concerned. Should I come with you? No, Grace answered quickly. I'll be fine. Daniel nodded. If you need anything, call me. He carried her suitcase all the way to the bus stop. As the bus engine started, Daniel held her hand through the window. Take care of yourself, he said softly. I'll be waiting for you. Grace forced a smile. I'll be back soon. But deep inside, she already knew she had no intention of returning. As the bus pulled away, Daniel stood on the dusty roadside waving until it disappeared over the hill. He whispered a prayer. Lord, protect my wife. He had no idea. The woman he loved was leaving him for another man, and that this choice would change both of their lives forever.